Have you ever abruptly ended a friendship and not regretted it? Ended my friendship with my best friend of 13 years. He fooled around with a girlfriend of mine. Not too long after I divorced from my wife who had cheated on me while I was deployed. Told him he was dead to me. Haven't regretted a day of it. What the heck is it with best friends and so's? I swear it's like there is this cabal of cheaters who take sadistic pleasure in that crap. Yeah, I kind of felt sorry for the guy because he obviously didn't have many friends. Most of the time he was cool to talk to, but then he started hitting on me, despite me having a boyfriend, and I quickly nipped that in the bud. He's probably somewhere on Reddit complaining about being friend-zoned. Mine was also an ex-girlfriend. We dated in high school but I broke it off because teenager logic. After 2 years of her treating me like crap, I blew up at her publicly. She stopped it and we were cool, until fast forward a few years in college together and stuff keeps coming up. She doesn't like our buddy's girlfriend, made him choose betwixt them, general talking crap about friends behind their backs. And the final straw for me was mistreating my best man and his girlfriend in front of his family. Justice came when a Facebook post showed up about how she abuses people and she is trying to change. After all of our friends cut her out socially, of course. Nice use of betwixt. Yeah, for background there is me and Dan, her, Tiff, and Stod. 2 couples, all friends. When we first all started to go out I was really good friends with her, but as time went on I saw more and more that she was selfish and egotistical. She once complained that her parents bought her 24k gold diamond earring for Christmas when she just wanted the money, and so on. There is a long list of faults with this child. Roll around to her friend's 21st birthday about a year ago. Her boyfriend cannot go anywhere without her except work. No lads nights out. He can't even look at other women. Read, barmaids. And you can tell it grates him if I mention that Danny was going away for the weekend without me, or we'll be rating the lovely beer providers of our local pubs. At this party she drinks and get paranoid that a girl, friend of ours, at another table is talking about her and decides to demand that none of us talk to her anymore. At this point I've had enough of her crap. Tell her she's free to make her boyfriend do whatever she likes and he can be dumb enough to follow it, but she does not have the right to try and control my partner, so she better shut up, sit down and stay the frick away from me for good. I walked away and had a F. Haven't said more than 5 words to her since and only see her when Danny and Stod want to go to the pub. Yes, we had a so-called friend who loves to use people and people's resources. Example, she knows friend A is smart, so she will do everything to be his study project partner. She knows friend B is rich, so she usually goes out with her to lunch because friend B doesn't mind paying for that user. It goes on. You'll see that her friends are high profile people because she befriended them for their assets. We sort of disowned her one day, kind of uninvited her in a party. That's when everything went awkward between us since then. Internet diagnosis, high functioning psychopath. A couple of people in high school stopped speaking to me for going to the prom with a lesbian friend. They have tried to Facebook friend me since, which is hilarious since I haven't spoken to them since 1996. I mean, 16 years is a lot of time to change mature. My high school self was a freaking idiot. I would certainly not like to be judged now for what that moron did. Yup, had a friend really liked him, had a lot of similar interests and humor. But I am one of those people who is quite technical. IT, audio-visual, smartphone stuff, internet. I am always being asked to fix stuff or give advice on something or other. Sometimes I understand how doctors feel at parties when they tell someone their profession. Oh, can you just have a quick look at the large wart I have growing out of my butt? I have to be quite strict with friends because they will take the pee. Well, some do. So this one guy was always asking what TV he should get, or why is his email not working, yada yada. He was moving to a new house and roped me in to help him spec and install the ultimate AV system, internet setup for his new house. There were promises of beers, food and other incentives. So over the next few months I was bombarded with questions about every freaking detail of the system. Finally the day arrived to install. I turned up at his house. No beer, no food. Well, not planned for me anyway. I set up all the kit, Then another bunch of people turned up with wine, beers and a broken laptop. It became apparent that my friend had planned a dinner party with these other people and they just happened to have this broken computer with them. After being asked and succeeding in fixing this computer, my friend announces they were about to eat. I said okay. He then said we weren't planning on you eating but we could fit you in I guess. I politely declined. I later wrote him a mail telling him how I felt he had crossed the line and was taking the pee. And that was that. Never spoke again. TL. DR. Friend took the pee with always bugging me to fix his crap. I have done this many times in my life. Choice is the best freedom we have been given and life is too short to surround yourself with frenemies and buttholes. I love getting older because I can finally choose the people I want in my life instead of being forced together with people through circumstances. My rule is, I will always forgive and forget. Just explain why. If you're true friend then you will admit you've been crap and I will too and we can move on from there. If you're not then, the friendship wasn't worth a crap and I'll be happy to move on from it. A lot of friends are calling me a douche for being this way. Thankfully I am not alone. It's a two-way thing. Both parties need to acknowledge being an idiot, or it won't work. And with boys it's often like this. Both are in the wrong, but won't stop arguing. Yup, in fact it was a whole group of friends. It's one of the few relationship decisions that I made that I look back on and am really proud of myself. They were the people I meet living in the 7th floor of Ellsworth Hall my freshman year of KU. We all became friends and did all the normal college stuff together. Groups of us banded off into separate off-campus apartments the next year and continued to hang out all together. During the course of that second year I had started making friends in my major who I liked a lot more than these people. The original group, dorm friends, was seemingly becoming more and more dysfunctional, while I became closer and with the other group. For the sake of brevity I am leave a lot out here. When third year rolled around I lived separately from the dorm friends which had consolidated into larger houses. I went and hung out with them for the back to school kegger they threw. Didn't feel right being there and left early. Never called them to hang out again. And was always busy doing my own crap when they called. Eventually the calls stopped. I continue strengthening the bonds with my new group, major friends, which felt more at home. Toward the end of 4th or 5th year I got a call out of the blue from dorm friends. Some of them were graduating and wanted to see me, so much so that they rented, borrowed an Xbox and asked me to bring my copy of Halo to play Halo multiplayer with them, my fav game ever. I went and it was weird. I felt like they were trying to broach the topic of why I never hung out with them anymore. It never came up and we said our goodbyes and wished each other well. I left feeling weird, but oddly content. I ran into one of the subgroups, dorm friends, a year later as I was leaving a bar, and they started apologizing to me. They weren't sure what for though. I was pretty shocked actually. I told them it was nothing they didn't to not feel bad about anything. I just needed to go my own way and that I felt deep down that I wasn't a good fit for their group. Joe, Hannah, Marcus, and Neely, if you happen to see this I hope life is treating you guys well. Yup, I had a close friend from high school that I've recently cut all ties with. We always had fun together and would chat on Facebook all the time. But boy was she trouble. The first sign, which I missed as only a young man blinded by the hope of intercourse could, was that she drove a wedge between my best friend and I, a friendship that still isn't what it used to be before. Our little Facebook chat soon became mandatory, with her texting me to get on if I wasn't. See, she had some issues with self-esteem. She was anorexic, displaying all but one of the textbook symptoms, and refused to do anything about it. Her parents, etc. So for about 6 months I was this girl's therapist, despite the fact that nothing I said stuck. I think I give good advice, but hey, don't we all? Eventually, I got sick of it, and 2 things happened. The first is that she insulted my very close friend, let's call her Mary, on multiple occasions, which was not okay. Secondly, I started to watch the X-Files on Netflix. Because I used my computer for Netflix, I couldn't do Facebook chat, and after a week or so I realized how much happier I was, and never looked back. She still tries to text me every now and then, but I ignore them. TL. DR. Mulder and Scully save me from a life of pseudotherapy. The truth is out there. Had a really close friend, We moved to a different country together for a few months and hung out almost daily. A few months after moving back I found out that he had been hitting on my girlfriend a lot and ended up drunkenly begging her for sex. Even when she rebuffed him he kept whining. He was engaged at the time and still is with the same poor girl. I cut him off completely without really explaining why, but I guess he knows. This was 6 years ago, and I've seen him a couple of times after that. Those times I've been cordial, but aloof. Don't need that kind of crap. Yep, one of my best friends just couldn't understand the concept of clinical depression, and told me to snap out of it. I haven't spoken to him since. I broke up with my fiance. He was cheating, but stayed friends with his best friend. Me and that guy took a couple vacations together and kept in close contact for several years. I started realizing that every time we spoke he was either dropping little tidbits of info about my ex or asking me specific questions about my life. I finally asked him if everything I told him was going straight to my ex. He said, well, he is my best friend. I dropped him like a bad habit and never looked back. TLDR. Ex's best friend was funneling info about me and my life directly back to butthole X. Broke off friendship and don't regret it. There was a girl in my high school class who basically admitted that she was only friends with me because I was suicidal depressed and therefore felt pity for me. I've never been happier ever since I cut her out. Maybe she was the reason. Huh. I had a friend who was a snob. Stuck up and always had to have everything her way. When we hung out, we did what she wanted. I couldn't even buy the makeup I wanted. It had to be the brand she regularly bought. The last straw was when she didn't like my boyfriend, who I had been with for 5 years. Fair enough, but it peed me off when she kept trying to set me up with someone else. Looking back on it, not once did we even have a conversation that didn't revolve around her. I got a new job and she didn't even so much as ask where my new job was. I decided to stop talking to her and never replied to her texts and ignored her calls. We were friends for a long time. Her hubby, my hubby, us kids, etc. I was warned that this friend, by her sister-in-law, that she was sue happy, meaning she sues anyone and didn't one. I never thought she'd do it to us. Her daughter didn't have a job. I suggested to hubby that she could be happy at his work. He is the manager. He said no problem. Figured we were helping out a friend. Long story short, she hurts herself. Not at work, but makes a workers' comp claim. Lies and more lies. Discrepancies all over the place. Hubby was extremely stressed, basically because she was lying about what he had said and asked her to do on certain dates. Dates etc did not add up. Mum and dad behind it all. Cut the friendship immediately. We were hurt and disgusted. Yup, several over the course of my life. Circumstances were all different but equally valid and equally sad. Just be absolutely certain that the friendship is over. Make sure it's a clean break. Walk away and resist the urge to gossip, speak badly about said person after it's over. There will be moments of regret and it doesn't feel good, but hopefully it's for the better for you both in the long run. One of my close friends stole money from my dad after staying at my house. At the time I was really worried about ending the friendship, but looking back I can see it was the best choice cause the guy is just a mess. She was my best friend of a few years. Then sometime last year she got a BF and kinda just forgot about me and everyone else. I tried to make the effort but she wasn't really responding. Then in January of this year I went away for the month on holiday and I missed her a lot. But I don't think she noticed at all, frankly. She broke up with him during this time. That hit me pretty hard. In February I decided that I would try to keep for another month with talking to her and keep the friendship going because I didn't want to throw it away so easily. So during that month I called her, texted her and tried to hang out but got nothing. So I stuck true to my word and just stopped everything with her. Yeah, it hurt at the beginning because I cared about her a lot, but I am way better off without her now. Don't care if no one reads this, it's just nice to get it out. I have trust issues. TLDR. Had a best friend. She stopped caring, so I did too. Hurt at first, now all better. Yes, earlier this year, I was in a really dark place and was having suicidal thoughts. I was depressed for about 2 years, but I was very good at hiding it and never told anybody because I didn't want to burden anyone or thought they would be too busy for me. One night in late January early February I was just so scared that I was going to kill myself, so I decided to open up about how I had been feeling to one of my 2 best friends. Let's call her L. I told her everything, how my depression started, how I was hiding it from everyone, how I was feeling. I requested for her to accompany me as I told my other best friend, H. Reasonable enough request, right? She never showed up, even though I was texting and calling her and asking if she was going to come. I continued trying to contact her for the next few weeks, to no avail, and a few months later, when I was getting better, I'd tried to contact her but she would never reply. Then I realized what a cunty move that was, abandoning me when I needed her most, and dropped all contact. I miss her sometimes, but I don't regret it one bit. I had a friend that wanted to hang out constantly. He'd come and hang out all the time, invited or not, and he would always try and be super close with my close friends or girlfriends. He was pretty flamboyant and there were a few times where his gay really sparkled, but he was in the closet. He told me once that if he was gay, that his dad would beat him to death. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time and I didn't tell anyone because I was having a tough time with it. He happened to call her out of the blue, and when he found out we broke up he was mad at me for not telling him. Next, after that girl I was dating another girl. Again he wormed his way into that relationship too. We caught him telling lies to us and confronted him. He had no explanation. This new girl thought that he was jealous of her for being with me. I agreed and that was that. I ended up never talking to him again. My friend was just like a brother to me. I'd never had that kind of relationship with someone before, especially since my direct family is quite dysfunctional. Ergo, I value my friends, the ones I have left, highly. This kid is about a year older than me, him being 17 now. We met at a Brinny meetup in our city and sort of hit things off from there. After a long time of talking and relating, we decided that we were the best of friends and hung out as much as we possibly could. Due to distance, this was limited to each weekend. Our platonic relationship sort of pushed me to develop feelings for him. We were already acting like we were dating anyway, although it was just holding hands and crap. He asked me one day if I liked him and I said yes, but I don't want a relationship because I'd just come out of an ugly one. Here's the freaking weird part. He goes off his nut and starts going on about how he'd be cheating on his girlfriend in Japan, whom he doesn't have on Facebook, whom he talks to once a month at best, whom he had only brought up once and didn't even reference her as his so at the time. If he continued to see me, now knowing my feelings, he claimed that he was an honorable man and had morals, and would dislike it if his girlfriend was hanging out with a guy who had feelings for her. Not even my farthest rationalization could convince him to see reason. He deleted me, ceased all contact with me, lived each day after as if nothing had happened. It was, to say the least, one of the most painful things I've had happen to me. I still love him as a brother, close friend, and I still miss him. This was in May. Sounds pretty typical for a 17-year-old. I can look back and honestly say that I've personally pulled dickish moves like these. Don't really stress it too hard. You're very young. You obviously dodge a bullet. He will wind up having regrets and feeling awful and all that jazz down the line. At least I think he would. If not, he will get his dues. This dude was my first friend when I moved from one part of the country to another. He was incredibly nice towards me, and we both helped each other get through school, etc. High school was a blast. Drinking, smoking and playing Final Fantasy. Fast forward a couple of years, we're still tight, but things have changed a bit in our group. He decided that he would not hang with us all the time because he wanted to calm down on the partying, and that was fine with us. We told him to contact us whenever he's ready to pick up contact again. We never said he couldn't hang out with us or whatever. The door was always open, etc. Now all we know is that he's partying even harder with his new friends. The irony is that he's a follower group wise. He never decides on anything himself. So while he wanted to quit the partying, this only led to him partying more. What bothers me though, is that I as his best friend over all these years never got a single word about anything. He moved to a different place and just ditched all of us. And now he wants to come back. Well, because his new friends weren't as good friends as he thought. I want to tell him to frick himself, but at the same time, he is my best friend and has been for a lot of years. Nope. Had a friend, well, basically an adopted brother, went out with an awful woman who I freaking hated, but he was happy, so didn't say anything. He called me up one night crying and all messed up in a bad way. This woman was screwing with him really hard, manipulating him and crap. So he'd broken up with her and was now super depressed. I talked him down and told him that no one really liked her. It was relevant. He was asking if he'd made the right decision. Anyway, fast forward a few months and he's back with her, still as freaked up as ever. Fast forward a few more months and he's an alcoholic, and bitching at me because I didn't like his girlfriend. Still the crap one that manipulated him and isolated him from friends and family and cheated on him right in front of his eyes. Full stop. So he eventually broke up with the demon wench and is now a serious drinker and moaning about not having money and not having any life experience. So I tell him just go out and do crap. You know? Stop drinking so much. Come over and we can for walks and crap. Whatever. Just telling him that we can just hang and still be buds and do stuff together. Few months later I told him he had a drinking problem and I didn't want to deal with him when he was drinking. That all he did these days was drink and be about crap he could easily change if he actually wanted to. I haven't seen him for more than about 10 minutes since. Addiction is bad, okay? TL. DR. Best friend became an alcoholic. No more best friend. I let my friends decide how things work. I have had people who thought I was their friend get upset with me throwing our friendship away over nothing when in reality they were just upset because I didn't instantly agree with them on whatever wrong decision they were making. I have a sort of scenario that fits with the ups question. Feel free to downvote me if this is the wrong type or whatever. Recently, I broke up with my girlfriend. I, from the outset, decided to take the high road and not reveal anything that she said or did that would paint her in a negative light, as I did wish to one day have some sort of friendship with her. And trust me when I say she had said some nasty things about nearly all of her friends at some point. She did not follow this. She began trashing me to anyone who had ears, which didn't make sense to me because I did a lot for this girl, and even towards the end of the relationship, I tried my damnedest to make it work. Anyway, most of our mutual friends were smart enough to say to themselves the evil Lord Zed isn't really like that and XGF is just wearing her heart on her sleeve. Unfortunately, one of my closest friends, we'll call her Laura, for the past couple of months did not see this. I had done a lot for Laura and helped her through a lot of emotional times and tried to be a great friend to her, and she had, for the most part, done the same for me. But when the breakup happened and XGF got into her ear, she told me that maybe we shouldn't hang out anymore. Right when I was feeling the sting of the breakup, trash talk and needed people. So I offered that if she would not be there for me when I needed friendship and support, like I had done with her, and she was buying into what the XGF was saying, then we were not really friends and I wouldn't pretend that we were. After this we haven't spoken. It sucked at first, but I now certainly don't regret it, as Laura was a bad friend all along in the mask of a good friend if this is something that would send her away. Additionally, this whole thing has helped me clean up my friends list and given me a new base from which to relaunch my social adventures. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.